Tanya here. Welcome back to Gray is Gorgeous. If you're new to my channel, I'm so glad you're here. Stick around. I'm going to be talking about ombre eyebrows, how to do them. We're going to be using the Joah or Joah, as you may know it, micro brow pencil from CVS Pharmacy. And let's get started. So for ombre brows, I'm going to be using the Joah micro pencil, and I'm going to be using Cool Taupe and Cool Blonde, and I'm going to do one side with just the Cool Taupe, and I'm going to be doing the other side with the Cool Taupe and the Cool Blonde, so you can see the difference between the two. And I don't have any other makeup on, so that way you're just going to be looking, we're just going to be looking at the brows, and we're not going to be looking at the other part. Let me put some concealer on first, just so the darkness around my eyes don't detract from us comparing our brows. So I'm using the Maybelline Fit Me concealer in number 10. And I've learned that with the application of this one, a pat place is much better than a swiping. I don't know if you noticed, but I was swiping it before. I'm still going to swipe it a little bit, but I'm going to end up pat placing it. I think the concealer sits better on aging skin when you pat place it, either with a sponge or your fingers. And I feel like pat placing also doesn't make any prominency with regards to it settling into your lines. At least not on the onset of the day. And under the makeup, so I'm just pat placing it here. And then I'm going to go over with some powder and set it. Set it and forget it. All right, and I use this to set, I use the Brulee single eyeshadow quad from Wet n Wild. My favorite, as you can see. Gone through many of these. And I'm not setting the bottom. I don't want the powder to settle into my fine lines under here. I just leave it like that. And then I kind of pat place, press it into my skin till it blends down into my coloration of my skin there. So it looks really super natural, but it does handle the dark circles. And I'm just going to put this on here. Good. Now that's all set. Okay, now we have a clean canvas to work on. All right, so let's start. Now for my ombre, and I'll explain to you why I'm doing it in this order. I'm going to use the darker up here and the lighter back here, and that is because if I come close, you can see I don't have a lot of hair here, and I don't have a lot of hair here, but I have hair here. So I don't want to really darken this area too much, and that's why I've chosen to do some ombre, because I don't want to darken that area. It already has hair, so I really want to put the dark where the hair is not. But I do like the lighter here on, if you will, we could call it the tail of your brow. But you'll be able to see the difference between the two, and then you judge for yourself which one works best for you, or if you even like the idea at all. So I'm going to go ahead and use the spoolie on the reverse side, and we're going to get the hairs that we do have standing upright. You want to brush them straight up. You don't want to brush them over like this. You want to brush them straight up. That gives you some shape. See what the shape of your eyebrow is first. All right. And then we're going to go in with the Cool Blonde, and I'm going to double check and make sure this is the right one. Yes, we're going to go in with the Cool Blonde. And I've noticed the Cool Blonde has a colored band around it. See that? Whereas the taupe does not. Little band there. That's great for if you've got your glasses off or something and you know, which one is it? If you do decide to get two. And then I am using a 7 times magnification mirror. I don't want to get too close, but I want to be able to see my brows at a normal distance from the mirror without my glasses. That's the idea behind that. And so I'm going to use the taupe first because we're putting the taupe here and the cooler blonde back there. So get the taupe up. And I'm going to make my lines, and I do not go from the outer edge of the nose. If you watch my videos, you know that of me. It was recommended by a professional that you use the tear duct and go straight up from the tear duct. I don't like to use the nose only because sometimes noses like mine are wide, and they're too wide, and that would mean the brow would start here. And in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, it's too far back. It spaces the brows too far apart and gives you kind of that look, like that emoji, like, huh? And I don't like that. So I go into the little dimple area of my nose here where it transitions, and I go up, and for me, that works for me. So you'll have to decide what works for you. And like I said, the professional that I watched, she said you go up from your tear duct. So straight up from your tear duct, the beginning of your eye. I would say you should go a little bit at a slant from the tear duct. That's just me. Again, I'm not a professional makeup artist, but I think that you should, if you have any questions about where to start your brows, I would go back and look at your high school photo or your elementary photo, whenever you had full brows, and I would observe where your brows start naturally in those photos and then use that as your guide. And that to me would be the ultimate right spot, because that's how you were born. So, all right, and with the exception of the unibrow. Trying to get it as even Steven as I can here. All right, so I like the square, and you might like the rounded, the more teardrop. You'll have to judge which you like better. All right, good. And so that would be the front part. Now I'm going to add a little bit of the darker in here, because as you see, I don't have any hair up here. So we're just going to add the taupe to that part too. And then we're going to do the tail cool blonde. So we're doing basically, I'm doing the full body of the brow in the taupe. And I'm using a light hand here. You don't want to push too hard, unless the only time you want to push a little harder, and you have to be careful with these micro pencils because they do break off, so you want to start them out short, don't dial them up too high. You do want to press a little bit harder if your colors vary, like if you're in between a brown and a taupe, I would get the taupe and press a little harder, because let me demonstrate to you on my hand. Okay, so here's a really light application of the taupe. And then right next to it, I'm going to go deeper and darker. So this pencil will do 2 colors. Notice that. This one is pressed. I use more pressure here, less pressure here. And that's how you can get your pencil to give you the color that you would like to have, is the pressure of the pencil. All right, so now that we have the body of the brow in, now we're going to just go for that tip. And I like to arch mine slightly. I don't always do it, but I do like to. So I'm taking it to these 2 points. Now I'm going to kind of visually measure into my cool blonde pencil now. And I'm going to put the tail on here. So I just added the tail. So it's lighter. So I'm not going darker towards the end. I'm going darker and more intense here, kind of medium, and then into a light tail with this cool. Now I'm going to take the taupe and do the tail on this side so you can see the difference between the ombre side and the regular side. It's so slight. It's such a slight difference. You may not even be able to tell. It's just a very, very slight color difference. And then once I get the tails on both sides, I make sure that the tails do not exceed my eye. So they should go right to here, and I did exceed it. So because if you exceed it, your eyes will become droopy, and if you have prominent lids like I do, then it will droopify your eye, and we don't want to do that. So we want to give ourselves an instant eye lift by taking off that tail and making it line up with the edge of our eye like so. All right, so there we go. All right, so I'm going to come in close. So here's the regular, and here's the ombre. So it's a little bit lighter. That color is ever so much lighter than the other one. Ombre, regular. So it's just a little bit lighter. It looks a little bit more natural. I think it does. I think it looks a little bit more natural. Just slightly less prominent on that side. And then if you feel like whatever pencil you used is too dark, don't panic. Just go ahead and take your brulee or any eyeshadow color that's very light and not shimmery, or take a translucent powder like the Physicians Formula, and just go ahead and put a little bit of that on top, and that will just kind of make it look a little bit more natural and lighten up that color a little bit. You'll want to pick two pencils that are similar in color, one slightly lighter and one slightly darker. So if you were born a blonde and you went gray, you'll probably do the blondie type eyebrows like I have, and so you want to pick the cool blonde and the cool taupe. If you were a lighter brown color, you want to pick the cool taupe and maybe a brown. And if you had black hair before you went gray and your eyebrows are still very dark, then you want to go with the dark brown or the dark brown and the blackish brown. So depending on what your natural brows look like, you want to pick two colors that are kind of what I like to call next door to each other. So when you see them on display, they'll go from light to darkest, and you want to pick the two that are next to each other. So the blondes together, blonde and taupe generally are the ones that go together, and then you have light brown, medium brown go together, and then you have medium brown and dark brown go together, or dark brown and blackish brown go together. So just pick the two next to each other. Thank you so much for watching. Click subscribe if you'd like to see more of my videos. Click like if you like the content of this video, and we'll catch you next time. Bye for now.